I'm Travis. I own Bella Tiamo and Visual Filmworks. We do Bella Tiamo, we do weddings and events, and then Visual Filmworks, we do a lot of commercial work, a lot of video, but we do photo too. And I'm based here in Chicagoland. So we can get started. You want to play the soundtrack, Chris? No, I'm kidding. No, okay. I was like, you should like play some hype music as people are coming in, because I'm actually not that like exciting of a person. Like I'm not like super extravagant or anything. So I was like, I need something to counterbalance that. But we do build hype for our clients, and I feel like we do a really good job of it. So I thought it'd be fun to do a class on that, because I didn't really see any classes quite like that. And so really, my goal today is to kind of go through our process. So as people were coming in, I was mentioning, so we do weddings and events, but we also do like commercial work, and we do primarily video, but we offer photography and stuff too. But I feel like a lot of this is applicable to really any kind of niche. The examples I'm using are a lot of wedding related things, but I really feel like you could apply this to headshots, you could apply this to doing work with a business, with a non-for-profit, a musician, really anyone. You could just kind of apply a lot of this. And so, let me just jump in. So what is hype? So a way I like to kind of explain hype is basically building excitement around a product or a service, or very publicly promoting something because you're extremely excited about it. A lot of times we're very excited about what we do as creatives. Like we love our work. Sometimes we love it maybe a little too much, and we don't know when to like kind of stop with a project because we're perfectionists. But it's great that we love our work, but our goal is to not just make other photographers love our work or other videographers love our work, but make our clients love the work too. And sometimes it just comes naturally, like when you're talking about weddings, I feel like we could kind of shoot anything, and as long as it wasn't like out of focus and it didn't sound bad and the lighting was decent, they're gonna love seeing themselves. But we want to kind of take that to level 11. Like we want them to just be like a cheerleader of our studio, essentially. And we want them to be telling all their friends and all their family. And that doesn't just happen by sending them a Dropbox link to their photos. It goes a lot farther than that, because if I just sent them a Dropbox link, which I used to do when I started, I might not even ever hear from them. I don't even know if they like the photos. If they didn't like the photos, it'll probably just kind of die and divine there. So we have kind of a process we use to build up to sharing their product. A little bit about myself. I was explaining a little bit earlier. So we're based here in Chicagoland. I live in Hoffman Estates with my wife and our 2 cats. And I actually use this picture in particular because my wife is very pregnant right now. So if Chris like raises his hand at any point, I'm probably gonna leave. so just so you guys know, there is a chance that I might have to abruptly leave, because the baby's due next week. But when she went on her appointment, they're like, "Oh, things are moving very quickly for you," And so I'm just a little hesitant just in case. So I knew you did. Yeah, have someone else ask the question for you. We love to do a lot of things that we couldn't do during COVID, and now we can't do because she's pregnant, such as travel, eat sushi, roller skate. we do a lot of things that we haven't been able to do in a while, but that's usually where we kind of find our time. And then we actually shoot together as well. So for the weddings, once we got married, I started kind of bringing Emily along to shadow with me, and it just slowly transitioned to her becoming my second shooter until the baby started coming, and now actually Chris back there second shoots with me a lot. So. Like I was kind of saying a little bit earlier, we have 2 brands. It's all under kind of one umbrella, but we decided to do that kind of early on because what we were finding is, as we started doing more non-wedding work, like commercial work for businesses, brands, realtors, things like that, it's a very different type of communication. Like when you're talking to a bride, you get on the phone and you're like, "Oh, I'm so excited to be a part of your wedding day," and you're talking about all like the flowers and the details and kind of all the excitement of that. Whereas when you're talking to a business, you want to be excited, but you're excited in a different way. It's like, okay, how am I going to help get more leads for you? How am I going to bring in more business? And so we end up making 2 separate brands just to make it a clear, easy way to kind of define things. And that kind of loops into what I'm going to be talking about, because by doing that, we can also then kind of define like what kind of emails we're sending to different ones. We can also have different social media platforms, so they both are sharing different things, as opposed to just kind of having like Travis Heberling photo and video, and I'm sharing weddings, and I'm sharing music videos, and I'm sharing my cats, and I'm sharing all these different things. Instead of doing that, we have specific brands that talk about specific things just so people kind of know what's going on. We're a smaller team. It's basically myself, Chris shoots with us, like I say, my wife shoots with us, and everyone else is pretty much subcontract. So I do have help with editing, our social media, with shooting, but everyone's just kind of subcontract. We like keeping it kind of smaller because we want to be more of like a boutique type of product for our clients. So I'm going to share, this isn't the full edit of this wedding, but it's about 5 minutes of it. I was going to share just so you guys can kind of see the kind of work that we do when it comes to weddings. Sorry about that. You'd think the video person would have their video down, but sometimes you don't. So I had a cut there, but it's still playing. I'm gonna stop there. You have to go to YouTube if you want to see the rest. But I picked that one in particular because that one actually performed pretty well for us. And if we wouldn't have taken our process that we have when it comes to our wedding videos, chances are probably we would have threw it up on YouTube. A couple maybe would have watched it a few times, shared it with a few people, and that would have been it. But we have kind of a whole system that we follow every time to get more traction on Instagram, YouTube, things like that. And these aren't viral numbers by any means. You know, we're not doing like millions of views, but we're getting quality views when we're doing this because not only are we, you know, sharing it in a specific way on YouTube, and I'll kind of break that down a little bit more further on as we're going, but when we're posting it, we kind of have like a system with the way we share it with the couple, and we ask them to share it for us, and just a bunch of different things kind of going on behind the scenes that I'm going to kind of get into when we get a little later. So what do we gain by taking our process? First off, client trust, which is huge. Especially when you're dealing with a wedding, you know, you're dealing with like a day that might be for some people like the best day of their lives and the most important day of their lives. When you're talking about commercial work, you know, a lot of times the business owner, that business is their baby. I mean, I'm sure you guys can relate with your own business. It's like whatever comes in and goes out, you want to look great. You want it to, you know, reflect what you're about. And so in order for us to build that trust, it's not just, you know, sign here on the dotted line, we booked and we're done. It's, you know, multiple phone calls leading up. It's sending them information to kind of show that we're a trusted kind of leader in our industry. You know, even me doing things like this, you know, I'm not speaking in front of a large audience. I'm not really interested in doing stuff like that. But just being able to be like, hey, you know, I'm speaking at a conference, that helps build trust with the client because they're like, oh, what's this guy about that he's, you know, at a conference and he's educating himself, but he's also educating others. And people latch on to that, and that's a huge thing to have. The other thing is, a lot of times we can book larger packages because that process we took. So, you know, we offer things from Photo Flash Drive. We also offer photo albums. We use Graphy Studios for those. And by us talking with them and them trusting us, a lot of times they're more willing to maybe add a second shooter. They're more willing to add more hours. Maybe they'll do the rehearsal dinner, things like that. And that's great for us, you know, because it's like we're able to kind of make more from one wedding as opposed to having to book multiple weddings to make that same amount. Extra deliverables kind of related to what I was just talking about. A lot of times, these have been like a great tool for us, these photo albums that Photo Flash Drives makes, and it plays a video inside there, because they're just cool. Like, you know, like whenever I'm telling like a couple about it on the phone, or if I do a Zoom call with a couple, and I'm like, hey, look at how we share our wedding films, and I'm like, boom, and then there's the video playing right there. It's super cool to them, and they want to add things like that on. And we've even used these for non-wedding related things too. So actually what I did last year, we do a lot of real estate related stuff. So like we do like properties, and we do you know, like brand videos for realtors. Any of the realtors that did the most business with me, like the top 3, I gifted them with this, with some of our property videos. And they thought it was like the coolest thing ever because you know, them selling those properties was a big accomplishment for them, and we were able to help them do that with the photo and video. And now they have kind of a collection of all the videos they got to do with us, and now they can add more. So when they meet with their client, they have like a cool tool to be able to be like, hey, this is what makes me different. You know, we make these cool videos, or we do these great photos that other realtors don't do. You know, other realtors are just using their phone. So it works in that way too. And then of course referrals. You know, if a bride fell in love with her wedding film and her process with us, she's going to tell all of her friends who are getting married. And anytime anyone is like, hey, I need a wedding photographer, or I need a wedding videographer for my wedding, who should I use? They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, the process was so amazing that we had with them. And lastly, it builds brand loyalty. And so I know the images aren't the best, but those are some reviews we've gotten from brides. And these are like pieces of them too. Like these aren't even the full reviews. And if I wouldn't have like taken that time with them, they wouldn't have had all these kind of things to say, because if you look deep in there, it's a bunch of things about how we took time to get to know them, how we didn't sell to them, we were just trying to help them, a bunch of different things like that. And by us kind of building up that excitement for them, it made them so happy after they got everything that they just want to tell everyone, they want to tell the world about what happened. So let's back up to how it all kind of starts. So a lot of times it starts with a phone call. So thankfully our phone calls aren't as intense as that for the clients, but it's a very important time for us. Regardless if the client is contacting us through Facebook, email, Instagram, whatever it is, our goal is to get them on a phone call. And sometimes people can be a little pushy with that. When I started out, I was like that too. I was like, I don't even want to communicate through email. I want to get this person on the phone. And that can just kind of rub people the wrong way. So the goal is I don't know if you guys are familiar with Alan Berg. He's really big in the wedding industry and wedding vendors. But he has something that he says that I've kind of adopted, is you kind of want to mirror the client and how they communicated with you. So like if they reach out to you with an email, you want to reply back with an email. And then it goes even further than that. If they reply to you with an email, and I get an email from them and it's like, oh, I'm getting married at the Palmer House in Chicago, and we're getting ready at my mom's house in the city, and I'm so excited to marry the love of my life. We've been together for 10 years, and it just goes on and on and on and on. I want to kind of mirror that in some ways. So I want to kind of take everything they said and I want to kind of respond to that. And I want to give them a pretty full length paragraph. But if they just like send a message and it's very simple and it's like, hey, we're looking for photo and video, then you want to kind of follow up with something very basic too, and just like, hey, that's great, we're available. Where's your event? Or like, what kind of photo are you looking for? And just kind of doing shorter sentences then and just kind of matching them. But eventually, I want to get to that phone call, because that phone call or meeting in person or Zoom call or whatever it is, that is going to allow me to show my personality. It's going to show their personality, and it's just going to get more accomplished than you would by going back and forth at email, sending them, your pricing right away, things like that. It just becomes very transactional, and I want it to be more relational. Even with our commercial stuff, whenever I first talk with a client, I explain to them that we're not a button pusher. Like they're not going to hire us and we're just showing up and taking some photos of them. We want to partner with their business and making sure we're making content that makes sense for them. So, if it's, I'll give you an example. I did a video with a chiropractor office last year. They got my information from someone, and the guy's like, I want to do a cool drone video of our place. And I'm like, all right, like what's special about your office? And he's like, oh, well, it's not that interesting looking. I saw another chiropractor and they had a drone video on their website, so we want to do one. So I'm like, well, I don't know if that actually is going to help you. I'm like, I'm more than willing to come out with my drone if you're going to pay me to do that, but like, let's talk about it a little bit further. So I took it deeper with him, and I was like, okay, well, what's the goal of the video? And he's like, oh, I want to have something on my website that kind of shows what the experience is like at our office. I'm like, well, a drone video is not going to do that. The drone video is just, they're going to think you're like selling your property or something. So we talked a little more, and I was like, well, why don't you bring in some patients and we'll film them? And so this video that might have been, $100 quick, I went out for 30 minutes and shot some drone video, turned into, like a $3,000, $4,000 package of us doing multiple videos for him and multiple content for him. And those videos performed like super well for them, and they were able to share them with everyone. And if I wouldn't have gotten on the phone with him and I would have just sent him an email back with like, hey, it costs, $300 for me to come out and do the drone, we would have never gotten to that point. I would have done it. He probably would have actually been disappointed with it because it wouldn't have done what he was looking for. And then that would have been the end of it. But we don't want that. We want to have like a relationship with our clients. So the photos and video are ready. Now what do we do? Like I was saying, we don't just send them a Dropbox link because that would be super boring and they might not even know how to use it. So the first thing we do is we let them know it's almost ready. So if we haven't done any sneak peeks with them yet, we'll send a few sneak peeks. We'll maybe throw together like a little teaser trailer like I mentioned right there, like a week before the wedding's ready. And just kind of like reminding them like, hey, yeah, you booked us and we did shoot your photo and video and that's coming very soon. And just kind of like getting in front of it before it's actually ready. And what's actually funny is usually when I email them telling them that's almost ready, it actually is usually ready. It's just I want to make sure it's ready before I tell them it's almost ready in case like we did an export of the video and something was totally wrong. And so that's something we do. I also have done like sharing quick behind the scenes. Like I'll literally just take my phone out as I'm editing the video and I'll just like scrub through a part of it and record it on my phone and I'll post it to Instagram and tag them. And I mean, it hurt me when I first started doing that because as like, the videographer, I want everything to be like high quality. But I was like, I eventually got to the point where it's like, this is just behind the scenes. This is just for them to kind of see. And so I'll do things like that. Or like if say like their playbook just arrived, I'll do like a quick like unboxing video and I'll send that to them like by text or something. So just kind of showing them that like, hey, things are happening. You're not just like on vacation, not editing their photos. Like you're actually putting in work and you're getting things done. And then this is the email we do send to them so that we use this for a video. We send something kind of like this for our commercial clients too. It's a little less like cutesy, but like we'll basically give them a video explaining kind of like what to do with the video. So they're not asking us the same questions we get asked every time, like how do I download it? And YouTube won't let me post it because of music copyright, and things like that. So so we send this email over to them and we just put some like cute stuff in there like, okay, this is what you should do next, watch together, grab a beverage, mute all distractions. And one of the reasons why I started listing that stuff off too was what I found was happening a lot is I would share the wedding video and I'd be like, hey, I hope you guys enjoy, like make sure you watch this tonight. And then the bride would text me like 10 minutes later after she watched it and she's like, oh, I just watched it in the elevator at work and I'm crying in the elevator. I'm like, well, that's great you're crying, but I would have rather you have watched it with your spouse and not like in the elevator. So we started sending them this just to make sure they're consuming it the correct way and it's not just like on their phone with no sound while they're working. We want to make sure like they make an experience out of it. And we help kind of make that happen too. So actually, I think it might be the next slide. So we premiere when we post things on Facebook. I don't think there's quite a way to do this for photo, but you can do this for videos. And so we will make a premiere. You can do this on YouTube as well. And it basically makes an event page for the video and it tells you when and where it's going to go live. And so first we share an unlisted link from YouTube with the couple. There's two reasons why we do that. One, we do it because we want the couple to be able to see the video before anyone else, especially because just in case there was something we did wrong, which rarely happens, but in case there was something that was wrong, we don't want it to be shared with everyone. And they're like, oh, I didn't like the way my hair looked or whatever it is. And so we'll share it with just them. And that way I can make sure only they have seen it. And then once they have seen it, I ask them to share it with anyone they want to see before it goes public. Because I know for myself, even like I was talking about we had the baby on the way when we did like our baby photos, like announcing we're having a baby. I tried so hard to find anyone who would be upset about seeing it on Facebook before I text them. And I tried to send it to them first before we posted on Facebook. And there were still those few people that kind of snuck through the cracks. And so we don't want that to happen with their wedding video where, we shared it for them. And then like, the bride's sister is like, why didn't you tell me, that your wedding video was ready? And so we want to make sure they're able to share it with everyone they want to. But there's actually another reason why we do that. And it's the way that YouTube works. And so if any of you guys ever get into video marketing type stuff, a little secret for you for YouTube to help get more views is to basically share an unlisted link with people and have them sharing it around. And so what happens is when you do finally go public on YouTube, you've already built up some views. So YouTube sees that and they're like, oh wow, this video is new and it's already popular content. Let's try to put this in front of some more people who are that are similar to who was watching it. And so there's basically two reasons why we do that, and those are kind of the two. It's like for the couple, but we're also kind of doing it for ourselves selflessly, because we want that video to get a bunch of views behind it. So then that way, when we go live on YouTube, YouTube sees that and they're like, okay, let's throw this in front of some more people. And that's helped us with getting leads too. YouTube has actually become one of our most common places of getting bookings. After, basically for us, it's referrals, it's Instagram, Instagram/Facebook. They're kind of even, but Facebook has been kind of tapering off for us. And then it's YouTube and Google. It's because with YouTube, we have all this great video content from weddings. So what we'll do a lot of times is whenever I post their wedding video, I'll tag like some of the generic stuff like Chicago wedding videographer, but I'm also tagging the venue and the vendors and stuff like that. And most of the time venues aren't the best at video marketing, so they don't have any good video content on YouTube. So when new couples are searching for, say, the Palmer House to see what it looks like, our video is the first video that they see. So they end up watching our wedding video and they're like, oh, we actually need a videographer too. Let's save this person's information. And so it's a little harder to do that with photo, of course, because like slideshows and stuff are probably not going to perform as well. But I still think there's probably creative ways, like if you just do photo, there's probably creative ways you could use YouTube to your advantage to do that. And even if it's just you're taking photos, at say it's a wedding at the Palmer House and you're doing the photos, having someone there, or even yourself having your phone and like taking behind the scenes of you taking those photos and then like mixing in those photos you took and then just making like a YouTube video that's like top 5 spots to do photos inside the Palmer House, or like, just something like that. That stuff performs really well because people are always Googling stuff like that, because if they're gonna have their wedding at the Palmer House, they wanna know where they should take the photos, they wanna know which ballroom's the best. And so a lot of that is just great stuff that you can do to kind of help your stuff get in front of more people. Thankfully, we've only had like 3 revisions in like the 10 years I've been doing this. And a lot of that comes back to what I've been talking about, where we spend so much time with them before the wedding that we kind of know their music taste. We know like what they might not like about themselves, especially if we got to do an engagement session. You learn right away, like, okay, they have these tendencies, they're this personality. And yeah, so we usually pick our own. We only use stuff that we can license. So we use like MusicBed, Soundstripe. Soundstripe's actually one of the ones that gave me a promo code too. I have at the end. So if you guys ever need music. So we only do stuff that can be licensed. So I explain that to them from the start. And then I kind of read them off of there. So if they seem kind of disappointed by that, then I'll be like, hey, there's like thousands and thousands of tracks. Why don't you like pick it out with me? And then I'll like ask them, I'm like, okay, what's kind of your guys' personality and style? And they'll be like, we want an upbeat video. Then I'll be like, okay, here's like 5 tracks and I'll pick them out for them. And then they'll just kind of narrow it down. That's very uncommon. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen from time to time. But most of the time they're just like, hey, we trust you. You just pick the music for us, and we just go with it. So. Yeah. Yeah, same thing with Instagram. So how brides find us on Instagram a lot of times, it's either, it might be like passively, where like we did their friend's wedding and they saw their friend be tagged in something and they reached out. But most of the time it's actually they're searching hashtags and they're using hashtags like Google. And so, like I've even gotten leads from commercial clients and businesses because I was tagging like very specific, like Schaumburg business or Hoffman Estates business, like suburbs of Chicago I was tagging, or like Schaumburg business videographer. And they use that like Google sometimes, especially like if they have a marketing person who's kind of on top of stuff like that. And so that's how we kind of use that. And like I was saying, we don't do like crazy numbers on Instagram either. Like I'm by no means like an influencer or anything, but it's good enough. And it's like the 30 people that are liking it or whatever, they're all like the type of people I want to follow and like it. Like it's not just like a random guy from another country or something. It's like this is actually someone that might live in like the suburbs of Chicago and they might be getting married soon. So now, speaking of viral, so TikTok, who's on TikTok? Okay, like half the room. So that's pretty good. So we started trying out TikTok like a couple years ago. I started with videos of my cats, which actually perform decently actually, and I was like, maybe I should do this, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try the wedding stuff just to see what kind of happens and what sticks. And I kind of marked out like 2 in particular. There's one there and one there. They did really, really well, and they're not like anything spectacular. Like, so that one, for example, I guess I should have had the video, but that one, for example, it's a first look with a dad. So it's just, we took like a 30-second clip out of that longer clip from the short film, and it's just like his reaction to her, and she's giving him a gift. And it's very raw. It's not like, I mean, it's more produced than probably other TikTok content, but it's still like kind of raw. And then this other one, it's literally just bridesmaids reacting to seeing the bride for the first time, and they're all screaming and stuff. And so definitely I recommend trying out TikTok for what you do and figuring out something that works. So like for me, this probably isn't the best strategy, to be honest. Like, I should probably be showing my face more. I should probably be doing more like behind the scenes content and stuff. I just haven't had time. So what I did instead is I just started reusing content I already had to make TikTok content. And now, with all this said, I have not booked anything from TikTok, so I don't know if it is actually going to be worth it in the long run. But the fact that I'm already getting like a lot of views on stuff, like that one down there, I don't know if you can see it, but it's 166.2 thousand views, or sorry, K, I forgot the K part. So yeah, and it gets like views every day. And then the other one was like 44.3K. And it just grows every day, and it's like there's no real like rhyme or reason to any of it, because I've posted other first looks where I was like, oh, this is going to be the next viral one, and it got like 200 views. So definitely I would recommend looking into it if it aligns with what you do. So like, I also did try it for business stuff, didn't really work so well, but one thing it did work was realtors. I actually tried posting some properties that we had shot, and that stuff did really well, and just making like content that's just like you know, cool property in the suburbs of Chicago, you know, something like that. So I was talking about this kind of earlier, but this is another kind of step of our process, and it's involving the vendors. And so, you know, we tag everyone. We actually, in our questionnaire, one of the questions we ask is, who are all your vendors? What are their emails, their phone numbers, and their Instagram handle? And surprisingly, when I first did that, I was like, no couple is gonna go look for this information for me. And surely enough, they do. Like, they include all of that. I ask them for their Instagram handles. They put all that stuff in. They kind of do the homework for me most of the time, which has made it a lot easier, because especially when it comes to like DJs and bakers and stuff, there's a lot of like first class DJ or like best bakery Chicago, you know, all these kind of generic names. And so it's hard to find the actual person. So we let them do that for us a lot of times, and that's been super helpful. We DM them the video when it's complete. Just be like, hey, here you go, here's the video. We also email it to them. And then lastly, and probably the most important thing, we ask them what we can do for them. So when it comes to us doing video content, we have a lot of content that these businesses might not ever be able to produce themselves because they don't have the budget for it. So I'll reach out a lot of times to like a venue, and I'll be like, hey, I was looking at your website and I noticed there's like no professional photos and 0 video. I would love to just give you some of the content we have. Can we like put together a little edit for you? And it usually starts out as just like a freebie for them, but then sometimes it can result to more business or something like that. And I'm not really looking to get paid off of stuff like this either, because it's like I already have the content. My goal is to build up that relationship with them. So like if it's, for example, you know, a photographer, and I got like a lot of shots of them while I was there for the wedding day, that's kind of building that relationship with them. I'm like, hey, I got some cool shots of you. Maybe if we work together again, I can get more shots of you. Same with the venues. Whenever, like the venues that refer me, they know that when I shoot a wedding for them, they're gonna be getting some new, fresh content that a lot of other photographers or videographers might not ever share. So we really, at the end of the day, my goal is like, however we can help everyone else, because it's one of those things where like if you kind of feed other people, they're gonna kind of feed you back. And we're never necessarily looking for handouts. We want to just try to give them stuff. So to kind of recap, what do we kind of gain from our process? I know we kind of went in like a few different directions. We got a lot into kind of the nitty gritty of stuff, but I feel like that was kind of what we needed. But kind of looping it back around, what do we kind of gain from the process? So like I was saying, client trust. Our clients, just like we were talking about with the music, they trust us to just pick the right music track. Like we're not running into the issue where it's a controlling bride and she wants to do everything, because we've been with them along the whole route and we didn't just show up. Like really what I'm trying to do is, like, I don't want to be that kind of vendor where they sign a contract with me, they pay the invoice, and then I see them like 2 years later at their wedding. We want to be a part of the whole experience with them, and that's going to build trust, and it's just going to make for a better product. We also a lot of times can book bigger packages because there is excitement around products like the playbooks and our albums, and just the way that we're kind of wording things to couples. They want to add on extra things. They want to add on extra hours. Like we've been able to do rehearsal dinner sometimes, and what I just do is I just explain, like, hey, there's going to be some people that are going to be speaking at the rehearsal that's not going to be speaking at the wedding. Are they important to you? Do you want to be able to remember that? And I just kind of use those pain points that they have to see if, like, it's something they want to add on. But I'm never trying to be like salesy about it. So like I don't want to just like give them a 14-hour package when they only need us there for 8 hours. I'm only trying to like add on things that are going to make the experience better for them. Same with deliverables. We recently tried I just said recent twice. We recently tried to start requiring albums with our wedding photo packages. And the way that I've been wording that is we're shooting for the album. So whenever we've done digital photos, it's always the kind of thing you're just kind of shooting whatever, I feel like, because it's like, well, we're just going to give them everything. So we're just shooting whatever. And there's not like a story. But like with the photo album, I can explain to them, hey, like we're shooting for the album. So in a way, we're making a story out of your album and helping them visualize that of like, okay, what do you want from your photos? Like, is this just like a hodgepodge of random photos that we took from your wedding? Or like, do you want to like incorporate these in some way? Like, are these going to become wall art? Do you want to have this on your coffee table? And just really like getting in there and figuring out like, okay, what are they going to do with their photos, and just kind of explaining like why they should do this or why they should do that. And that's why like with the photo, it's required now. It's in our package. It's, it starts with an 8x8 tin spread album, and it's just in the package. Like it's not negotiable, because we think that album needs to be in there, because even though you might not think that you need an album right now and you just need Facebook profile pictures, in 5 years you're going to be scrambling, not knowing what you did with your thumb drive. You might have got rid of your Facebook because you don't want to see all the political stuff or whatever it is, and now you don't have a way to look at your photos. So, and then of course referrals. Like I was talking about, not only are we building hype for the clients, so the clients are referring us, but we're building hype for the other vendors and the venues. Me sending them over a cool edit of their venue is going to do a lot with that relationship I have with them. And then lastly, brand loyalty. We're basically building little cheerleaders that are sharing our stuff. I get tagged so many times on Facebook from like brides and stuff, and then that bride will tag me and someone looking for a videographer, and right under that bride will be another bride that I shot for, and these two people don't even know each other, and they're tagging me in there, and it's just really cool to see stuff like that. So we started doing that photo video hybrid in the top, my top left, and so it has a little book inside with all their photos, but then just kind of like the playbook, it has a screen in there too, so we can have their video somewhere that's not just like their phone. And then that's my information. If you want to reach out or anything, if you guys have any other like follow-up questions you don't think about while we're here today, the TR Heberling, that's just my personal, so that's where you'll find all my cats and stuff. And then Bella Photo Video. Yeah, soon to be child will be on there soon too. So that will be on there. Bella Photo Video is the wedding work. Visual Filmworks is our commercial work. And then we have some educational content on Bella Ti Amo. I don't know actually the last time I updated that, but there's some stuff on there. And then this year I started doing a podcast. So I mean, if any of you are ever interested in being on, like I usually just interview other like wedding professionals, but not even just wedding professionals. I brought in like a person that does financing. Actually, the owner, we were talking about the owner of Photo Flash Drive, Brian. I've had him on for an episode to talk about gift giving and how to give gifts and things like that. But we also have had like DJs and photographers, videographers. So if any of you want to be on there, just reach out. I would love to have you on there. But also, there's a bunch of content on there already. We did take a little bit of a hiatus because it's been a very busy summer with all the wedding reschedules and stuff. But we plan on kind of starting it back up maybe like sometime in the fall or something. And that was me on one of our commercial gigs. So that's kind of the beauty of photo and video that you guys have probably found, is it puts you in weird situations you would never expect to be in. You know, like that was before COVID, so we didn't have to wear the mask, but we had to wear like the whole jacket and gloves and like the hair thing. And that was for American Lung Association. So we were filming this like crazy machine they have where it does like heart surgery, and it's got like the little like claws and stuff. It's pretty cool, but also like kind of creepy looking with all the claws and everything. But yeah, and they did a demonstration too while we were there with like a thread of string, and they like tied a bow and the thread of string with the little claws. It was crazy stuff. But yeah, as you guys have learned, probably photo and video puts you in all sorts of weird niches and stuff you would never think you would have seen. So yeah, I think that's all I have. I guess we got some time, so if anyone has any other questions, whether it is business related or even just shooting related, I'm happy to answer those. So yeah.